Hey, Dan from Michigan here again. Today, taking the time again to talk about things that I've experienced in my life, things that I've gone through. As I always mention on my videos, I'm only going to talk about things here that have really directly experienced or been a part of, because I don't want to just share something that is hypothetical or might work for you, that kind of thing. So, in thinking about today's video, one of the things I went through a few years ago, and actually it was for the second time in my life, was to go through a bankruptcy. Not something pleasant in my mind. I think it's just a scary thing, not knowing what's going to happen and what it's going to look like, both during it and after. But the first time I went through a bankruptcy was when we had a lot of medical bills young in my marriage, and there just really was no option. The medical bills were so high, and everything else was getting behind. We just had to do it. And so it wasn't even a question then. It was a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and it did help us. We were able to get it back on our feet. We were ready to do that. It just was a kind of a mess going through, not knowing what you're doing, right? Now, the second time I went through bankruptcy was was after my divorce, and I had to close up a business that I had had for over almost 30 years. At the same time, I still had obligations from my divorce, and it just kind of snowballed. And at this time, I really, was deciding, is this something that, again, that I really have to do, or am I in a position where I can drag this out? And if you're thinking about if you're thinking about bankruptcy yourself, the stress that has even come up to that point that made you even consider that thought, right? You've gone through or still are going through a lot of things that are scary, and am I going to lose this? Is what's going to happen here? I've just got the phone calls every single day, the emails, the knocks on the doors. Lots of things happen that lead you up to that. And you always hope that if you go ahead and do this, what's going to happen after? So in my case, I did really look at everything closely, and the fact that I'd been through it before, I kind of had some idea. And today with the internet, you can kind of go online and just kind of see what kind of options are there when you start putting numbers in. And there's some free sites that you can go to and do that. And you can just kind of see, is there a way to get out of this without having to deal with bankruptcy? So that's the first thing, is just to be sure. You need to research. Frankly, I couldn't tell you the companies I used myself now, but I did go through and talk to a couple different companies as to what my better options might be. Would it be better to consolidate my bills if I could? Would they be able to help with talking to my creditors? What are the results of that? That's another thing you need to consider, because even though a lot of times there's companies out there that can negotiate with your companies that you owe money for a lot less, it may extend the amount of time before you're ever free to really start building again. So these are questions you need to ask. And there are some reputable companies out there. The amazing thing today with Google and AI is that you're going to be able to ask and find out what are some of the best companies, do some research online and find out what you're hearing from other people, or just asking other people that what they did. If you're comfortable talking to other people about this and what happened with theirs, and is it a good lawyer to find. These are all things that are good questions to ask if you know people that have gone through it and you're comfortable talking with them about it. A lot of us don't want to necessarily talk to other people about what we're going through, right? So that fortunately with the internet, you're able to do a lot of that without having to talk to anybody. There are some companies, if you're real low income, that will actually help you go through the bankruptcy without any cost. Again, look those, make sure that you got the reputable companies that are out there. I think one of them, I can't think of the name of it. I don't want to necessarily say a name if I'm not absolutely sure. But so my first process was, do I actually have to do this? And there just didn't seem to be any way around it. I didn't own any real estate, so at the time I'd already sold my home and was out of that. I was renting. But I didn't want to affect that either, so it was real important that I was taking care of that. My car, I didn't want to lose my car, but kind of did some things in there to help me to keep the car, but it actually kind of went through it too, so really know what's going on with that. Again, I guess the main thing that I want to get across to you is that before you do anything, while you're doing it, and thinking about afterwards, ask a lot of questions, not only of yourself, but of the people that are supposedly helping you. Okay, make sure you're getting those, what's this going to look like if I do this? Okay, how long is that going to affect me? If I do something that is going to kind of still be with me, what's it look like? How long is it going to take? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road? I mean, am I going to be better off just doing a chapter 7 or a chapter 13 if possible? There's two options. You need to know the difference between those as well. There's several different types of bankruptcy, so you want to make sure that you're going through the one that's going to work the best for you and make sure that it's even worth it, okay? Also, find a good lawyer. You need to research that as well. Obviously, the best is if you really trust somebody that you know gone through bankruptcy, and they have somebody that they felt really did a good job for them, that might be your first choice. But, in pretty much every community, you can see advertisements somewhere for those attorneys that do this all the time, whether it be on their television or radio or ads along the road or whatever, and just find out, they almost all will give you a free consultation. And I think that's a good spot. I actually went through 3 different lawyer consultations before I felt comfortable with one that was just seemed like he was sincere about what he was doing. He did a lot of bankruptcies. He was very busy, but he took the time, answered all my questions, didn't hem-haw, didn't put pressure on me. And the other thing for me, and all 3 of these all did the same thing, is they gave you payment options. You didn't have to come up with the money right up front. And there's a lot of attorneys that expect that. Here you are struggling with money as it is, and they're saying, okay, well, put something else off and just pay me up front so we can help you with this bankruptcy. Is that really what I want to do? And if you don't have the money to do that, how's that going to help you, right? So you definitely want to make sure you have an attorney that is going to do a good job, knows what they're doing, make sure that they've done everything. Don't get rid of those paperwork. Make sure you've included everyone and that they've included everyone that you included in the paperwork. Because once it's done, if you haven't included somebody, you could owe it. And that could be something from a long time ago, or something you've just forgotten about. So you really need to take the time and make sure that you have everyone included in there in the bankruptcy so that you don't get screwed down the road. There are things you can protect. Normally you can protect your home, and there's a couple other things. There's some things that you're not going to be able to get out of, and you need to know that up front as well. And decide again, is that if I can't get out of this one, this is the worst thing for me, does it make sense for me to try to negotiate with them if it's possible, or just throw it up, not do it at all, okay? So again, you've got to make those decisions. And number 4, put a plan in ahead of time for what's going to happen afterwards, okay? If you don't have a job and you're going through a bankruptcy or you don't have something that's going to create some income for you, Is that something you really want to do now, or you need to just struggle along until you can actually do that? Because if you don't have a plan afterwards, you can't go into bankruptcy again for quite a while. And so you don't want to make a habit of this, although I've heard some people have. And so you want to be able to make sure that you got a good plan in place, being able to put a budget into place, make sure you can afford what's going to come next. Those are all good things so that you can relieve the stress. That's what the bankruptcy is supposed to do, right? Relieve all that stress, let you start anew, find a good credit card company if you're going to do that will help you reestablish your credit. Now, Dave Ramsey says no credit cards. And you know what? He's got a great plan. If somebody wants to go through that, I think it's a good thing. I did do it for a number of years. I did get away from it. And however, in today's world, I just felt from where I was starting, I needed to reestablish credit. And it didn't take that long. Within a few years, because I took care of everything that I owed, I really reduced any of my bills. I didn't keep adding things like, oh, I need this or I need that. I kept it to a minimum so that I knew I could always pay my bills. Definitely something you want to do as well, okay? And so now I've got, my credit score keeps going up on a regular basis, and it really has helped in situations where I was a little tight on money at a certain time because of some unexpected things, and been able to use that credit. And I can say kind of proudly, I haven't paid any interest because I'm always paying that card off every month. So good things go. Again, it's not a fun thing to go through bankruptcy, but really the relief, if you do it right, the relief that can come from it afterwards with having a good plan in place and moving forward is great. Okay, that's what it's designed for. So again, like I said, I only talk about things on here that I've gone through, that I've experienced, that I've enjoyed, whatever the case may be. And this happens to be one I didn't enjoy so much, but it was a necessity. And if you're thinking about it, you got questions, put them in the chat. I'll be glad to answer if I can. Also, if you have been through this yourself and maybe some bits of wisdom that you can put in there, love to have that in there as well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I hope you will, but if you like it and comment, that'll be awesome as well. So have a great day. Again, this is Dan from Michigan. Great talking to you.